Jake Morrison crawled through the broken concrete tunnel, his rifle pressed tight against his chest. Behind him, 12 other humans moved like shadows through the darkness. The air smelled of smoke and alien metal. Above their heads, the Veltar ships hummed with deadly energy. "How much further?" whispered Sam Rodriguez, Jake's closest friend and second in command. 200 meters, Jake replied softly. Then we hit their supply depot. The humans had been fighting for 15 years. Most of Earth's cities were nothing but rubble now. The Veltar and their alien friends had turned the beautiful blue planet into a wasteland. Humans lived underground like rats, coming out only to fight and steal supplies. Jake remembered when he was a child. The sky had been blue then, not the sick yellow color it was now. His parents had owned a small farm in Kansas. That farm was gone. His parents were gone. Everything was gone except the fight. Dr. Lisa Carter moved up beside Jake. She had been a prisoner of the aliens for 2 years before Jake's team rescued her. Her face was thin, and her eyes held secrets that made Jake nervous. "Jake," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something important. Not here." "After the mission?" Jake nodded. Lisa always had important things to say. She understood the aliens better than anyone else. Sometimes Jake wondered if that was good or bad. The tunnel opened into a large room. Through a crack in the wall, Jake could see the Veltar supply depot. The aliens moved around like giant insects, their 4 arms working on machines that humans could barely understand. The Veltar were tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like metal. They never seemed to sleep or rest. "Amy, can you disable their sensors?" Jake asked the young woman behind him. Amy Walsh was only 22, but she could make any machine work the way she wanted. Her small hands moved over a device she had built from stolen alien parts. After a few moments, she smiled. "Done. We have 10 minutes before they notice." Jake made hand signals to his team. They spread out through the broken building. The humans moved like hunters, each one knowing exactly what to do without being told. This was how they had survived for 15 years. The attack was fast and quiet. Jake's team took down 6 Veltar guards before the aliens even knew they were there. The humans grabbed food, medicine, and weapons, but most importantly, they took the small metal boxes that contained alien information. As they prepared to leave, alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed everywhere. More Veltar soldiers poured into the depot from hidden doors. "Run!" Jake shouted. The humans raced through the building as alien weapons fired burning beams of light around them. Sam Rodriguez covered their escape, his rifle barking as he shot at the pursuing aliens. A Veltar beam caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. "Sam." Jake turned back for his friend. "Keep going," Sam yelled, still firing. "Get the data out." Jake's heart burned, but he knew Sam was right. The information they had stolen might save thousands of human lives. He grabbed Sam's good arm and pulled him toward the tunnel. They made it back to their underground base as the sun was setting. The base was hidden beneath the ruins of what used to be Chicago. Hundreds of humans lived in the network of tunnels and rooms they had carved out of the earth. Jake sat in his small office looking at the alien data boxes. Dr. Carter came in and closed the door behind her. Her face was serious. "Jake, I know what the Veltar are really afraid of," she said. "What do you mean?" Lisa sat down across from him. "When I was their prisoner, I learned their language. I listened to their conversations. They don't want to destroy us because we're violent. They're afraid of something else." "What?" "They're afraid of how we think," Lisa said. "The Veltar and all their alien friends think as one mind. They share thoughts across the galaxy instantly. They always know what each other is thinking. But humans are different. We think alone. We make our own choices. This terrifies them." Jake frowned. "Why would that scare them?" "Because we can't be predicted. When they push us, we don't react the way they expect. We get stronger instead of weaker. We find new ways to fight. They call it adversarial evolution. We become more dangerous when we're losing." The door burst open. Amy Walsh ran in, her face pale with fear. "Jake, the scanners are showing massive alien ships approaching Earth, more than we've ever seen before." Jake and Lisa rushed to the main command room. On the screens, They could see hundreds of Veltar warships filling the space around Earth. The humans in the room stood in shocked silence. "How many?" Jake asked quietly. "Our computers can't count them all," Amy replied. "It looks like every Veltar ship in the galaxy." Commander Kate Murphy, who led the intelligence team, stepped forward. "They're moving toward New Geneva. It's the last major human stronghold. If it falls, we lose everything." Jake stared at the screens. New Geneva was home to 50,000 humans. It was also where the secret research facility was hidden. If the aliens took it, the war was over. But as Jake watched the alien fleet, he felt something strange. Not fear, but anger. Pure, burning anger. The Veltar thought they could predict humans. They thought they knew how this would end. They were wrong. Jake turned to his team. Sam Rodriguez stood beside him, his wounded arm in a sling, but his eyes bright with determination. Dr. Carter looked ready for whatever came next. Amy Walsh's young face was set with the kind of hardness that only came from years of war. "Send a message to all human resistance cells," Jake said. "Tell them we're not running anymore. Tell them we're not hiding anymore." "What's the plan?" Sam asked. Jake smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "We're going to show the Veltar what happens when you corner a human. We're going to give them their worst nightmare." The alien ships moved closer to Earth, confident in their victory. They had no idea that they were about to learn why the galaxy should fear humanity. The species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars were about to show the universe what they could really do when they stopped being afraid. The real war was just beginning. Deep beneath the ruins of New Geneva, Dr. Paul Henderson stared at the massive machine that filled the underground chamber. The device hummed with power, surrounded by cables and screens that showed data streams flowing like rivers of light. For 3 years, his team had worked in secret to build this weapon that the Veltar thought was impossible. Jake Morrison stood beside him, still covered in dust from the tunnel fight. Dr. Lisa Carter was there too, along with the other resistance, leaders who had made the dangerous journey to New Geneva. The air in the chamber was thick with tension and hope. "This is it?" Jake asked, looking at the strange machine. "This is what's going to save us?" Paul nodded, his gray hair falling over tired eyes. "We call it the Prometheus Project. But Jake, you need to understand what Lisa discovered first." Lisa stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "The Veltar aren't just one species working with others. They're all connected by something they call the Unity Mind. Every Veltar, every one of their allies, shares thoughts instantly across the entire galaxy." Commander Kate Murphy, who had arrived an hour earlier, pointed to a screen showing the alien fleet. "That's how they coordinate so perfectly. When one ship learns something, they all know it immediately. When one makes a decision, they all follow it without question. It's their greatest strength," Paul added. But Lisa realized it could also be their greatest weakness. Tony Blake, a former businessman who now managed their supplies, whistled softly. "You mean if we could disrupt this connection, we could blind them," Lisa finished. "Make them fight as individuals instead of as one perfect machine." Jake studied the device. It was beautiful in a strange way, covered in both human technology and pieces of alien equipment they had captured over the years. "How does it work?" Paul's face grew serious. "Someone has to interface directly with their network. The person would connect their mind to the Veltar Unity and then release a virus into their system. But Jake..." He paused. "The person doing it might not survive. The human mind isn't meant to connect with alien thought patterns." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves to give humanity a chance. "I'll do it," Jake said immediately. "No," Sam Rodriguez spoke up, his wounded arm still in a sling. "I should do it. You're needed to lead the fight." "I'm the one who knows their language best," Lisa argued. "It should be me." Amy Walsh stepped forward, her young face determined. "I built most of the interface systems. I understand the technology better than anyone." Commander Kate Murphy shook her head. "I'm the oldest here. I've lived my life. Let me do this." Paul watched as every person in the room volunteered to die for the others. This was exactly what Lisa had been talking about. Humans didn't think like the Veltar. When faced with death, they didn't calculate odds or follow programming. They chose to sacrifice for each other. Actually, Paul said quietly, we might have found another way. Everyone turned to look at him. Paul walked to a smaller machine connected to the main device. We've been studying the alien prisoners Lisa helped us capture last month. Their minds are completely different from ours. But we discovered something interesting. He activated a screen that showed brain scans. Human minds are chaotic. We have millions of thoughts at once. We contradict ourselves. We change our minds. We create new ideas from nothing. This chaos is exactly what we need to poison their network. Lisa's eyes widened with understanding. You mean the person doesn't have to die? The chaos of human thought itself is the weapon. Exactly. But it's still dangerous. The volunteer will experience the unity mind directly. Imagine hearing the thoughts of billions of aliens all at once. It could drive someone insane. Jake looked around the room at his friends and allies. These people had fought beside him for years. They had lost everything but never given up. Now they were offering to risk their sanity for a chance to win. Above them, alarms began to sound. The Veltar fleet had reached Earth's atmosphere. Kate Murphy spoke into her radio, getting reports from scouts on the surface. They're landing. Troops around New Geneva, she announced. We have maybe 6 hours before they reach this facility. Paul began powering up the Prometheus device. We need to choose someone now. Once the process starts, it will take 4 hours to complete. I'll do it, Jake said again. But Dr. Carter grabbed his arm. Jake, think about this logically. You're our best military leader. Sam is wounded. Kate is needed for intelligence. Tony manages our supplies. Amy builds our equipment. And you're our expert on alien psychology, Jake replied. We need you too. Lisa smiled sadly. No, Jake. You need someone who can survive in their minds. Someone who has already been inside Veltar thoughts before. She looked around the room. I was their prisoner for 2 years. I learned to block out their mental pressure. I'm the only one here who has a real chance of staying sane in the unity mind. Jake wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. Lisa had survived things that would have broken other people. If anyone could handle the alien thoughts, it was her. There's something else, Paul said. The device will make the volunteer a bridge between human and Veltar minds. For a few hours, she'll be able to understand everything they're thinking and planning. She could guide our counterattack. Explosions echoed from somewhere above them. The Veltar had begun their assault on New Geneva's defenses. Time was running out. Lisa walked to the interface chair without hesitation. Start the process, Paul. As the scientist prepared the machine, Jake felt something he hadn't experienced in 15 years. Hope. Real hope. For the first time since the war began, humans weren't just surviving. They were fighting back with a plan that could actually work. Jake, Lisa said as Paul attached the neural cables to her head, remember what I told you about adversarial evolution. When this works, don't just drive them away. Show them why they were right to fear us. Show the galaxy that humans don't just survive. We become stronger. The machine powered up with a sound like thunder. Lisa closed her eyes as the connection began. On the screens around them, data streams showed her mind reaching out across space, touching the vast network that connected every Veltar in the galaxy. The real battle was about to begin. High above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Chris Nelson watched the Veltar fleet through the bridge windows of his hidden ship. For 15 years, humanity had kept this fleet secret, building and hiding ships in the asteroid belt, while the aliens thought they had destroyed all human space power. Admiral, called Lieutenant Maya Foster from her pilot station. The surface teams are ready. Jake Morrison's resistance cells are in position around New Geneva. Chris nodded, his weathered face calm despite the massive enemy fleet before them. His ships were smaller and fewer than the Veltar vessels, but they had advantages the aliens didn't know about. Every human ship was built using lessons learned from 15 years of guerrilla warfare. Dr. Parker, any word from the Prometheus team? Chris asked. Dr. Ben Parker, Their expert on alien behavior studied his screens carefully. Dr. Carter has successfully connected to their Unity mind. The virus is spreading through their network, but slowly. We need to buy her more time. On the surface of Earth, Jake Morrison crouched in a bombed-out building, watching Veltar ground troops march through the streets of New Geneva. His radio crackled with reports from resistance cells across the city. Phoenix Leader, this is Wolfpack. We count 300 aliens moving toward the University District. Eagle-Eye to Phoenix Leader. Alien vehicles approaching from the south. They're heading straight for the hidden entrance. Jake gripped his rifle tighter. The Veltar were getting close to the underground facility where Lisa was connected to their network. His team had to stop them, but they were badly outnumbered. Tionol. Units, this is Phoenix Leader. He spoke into his radio. Begin Operation Hornet's Nest. Hit them everywhere at once. Make them think we're stronger than we are. Across New Geneva, small groups of humans began attacking the Veltar from hidden positions. They would fire a few shots, then disappear into ruins and tunnels before the aliens could respond. It was the same strategy they had used for 15 years, but now it served a new purpose. Every attack confused the aliens and slowed their advance toward Lisa. In space, Admiral Nelson received a coded message from Jake's team. The ground forces were doing their part. Now it was time for the hidden fleet to reveal itself. All ships. This is Fleet Command. Execute Alpha Strike Pattern. Show these aliens what humans learned while they thought we were beaten. 27 human ships suddenly appeared from behind asteroids and space debris. They had been invisible to Veltar sensors, using technology adapted from the stealth tactics that resistance fighters used on Earth. The alien fleet was caught completely by surprise. Lieutenant Maya Foster piloted her fighter through the enemy, formation like a dancer, her ship twisting and turning in ways that confused the aliens. Veltar ships were built for organized battle formations, not the chaotic individual fighting style that humans preferred. Maya to Fleet Command, she called, out as she dodged alien weapons fire. Their response time is slower than usual. Something's affecting their coordination. Dr. Parker smiled at his instruments. The virus is working. Look at their fleet movement patterns. They're not acting as one mind anymore. The Veltar ships began to separate, each one making individual decisions instead of following the perfect group strategy they usually used. Some ships tried to chase the fast human fighters, while others attempted to maintain formation. The result was chaos in their ranks. Back on Earth, Jake's team fought their way through the city streets. The Veltar ground troops were also showing signs of confusion. Instead of their usual perfect coordination, they were making mistakes and failing to communicate properly. Sam, take your squad and hit their communications array, Jake ordered. Amy, can you hack into their local network? Amy Walsh worked frantically on her portable computer, trying to break into the alien systems. I'm in. Jake, their local commanders are getting contradictory orders from their fleet. They don't know what to do. This was the moment Jake had been waiting for. He activated his radio to broadcast on all resistance frequencies. All human forces, this is Phoenix Leader. The aliens are confused and weak. This is our chance. Attack with everything you have. Throughout New Geneva, humans emerged from hiding, places they had used for years. But instead of the desperate defensive fighting they were used to, they attacked with the confidence of a species that finally saw victory within reach. Underground, Dr. Carter sat connected to the Prometheus device, her mind swimming through the vast network of Veltar thoughts. She could feel the virus spreading like wildfire through their Unity mind, creating chaos where there had once been perfect order. But she could also feel something else. Fear. For the first time in their history, the Veltar were experiencing individual fear. Each alien was suddenly alone with its own thoughts, unable to share the comfort of the group mind. Paul, she said without opening her eyes, I can guide our ships. I can see through their sensors and know their plans before they make them. Dr. Henderson activated the communication link between Lisa and Admiral Nelson's fleet. Suddenly, the human ships began moving with impossible precision, avoiding alien weapons and striking at exactly the right moments. In space, Maya Foster found herself flying in perfect formation with ships she couldn't even see, guided by Lisa's connection to the enemy network. "This is incredible. It's like I can predict their every move." The tide of battle turned rapidly. Human ships that had been outnumbered and outgunned suddenly had the advantage of knowing what their enemies would do before the enemies knew it themselves. On the ground, Jake's resistance fighters used the same advantage. Lisa's voice came through, their radios warning them of alien movements and directing them to weak points in the enemy lines. "Jake," Lisa's voice was strained but determined. "There's a Veltar command ship in orbit. It's trying to restore the Unity Mind. If Admiral Nelson can destroy it, their confusion will become permanent." Jake relayed the message to the fleet. Admiral Nelson's flagship turned toward the massive command vessel, supported by every available human ship. The battle for the command ship was fierce. The Veltar fought desperately to protect their link to the Unity Mind. But human tactics, guided by Lisa's knowledge of their thoughts, proved too much for them. When the command ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, something changed across the entire Veltar fleet. Ships that had fought in perfect coordination for millions of years suddenly found themselves alone and afraid. "My God," Dr. Parker whispered as he watched his screens. "They're retreating. The entire fleet is pulling back." But Jake Morrison, standing in the ruins of New Geneva as alien troops fled in confusion, knew this was just the beginning. For 15 years, humans had been the ones running and hiding. Now it was time to show the galaxy what the species called humanity could really do when they stopped being afraid. The hunters had become the hunted. 3 weeks after the battle at New Geneva, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the human ship Defiance, watching Mars grow larger through the viewport. The red planet looked different now that humans controlled the space around it. Again. Ships moved freely between Earth and Mars for the first time in 15 years. "Jake," Sam Rodriguez called from the communication station, his arm finally out of its sling. "We're getting reports from all over the solar system. The Mars colonies are sending reinforcements. Europa base has finished 12 new ships. Even the mining stations are contributing fighters." Jake smiled as he read the reports. When the war began, humanity had secretly evacuated millions of people to hidden colonies throughout the solar system. While Earth fought the visible war, these colonies had spent 15 years building technology, ships, and weapons. Now they were returning to reclaim their home galaxy. Dr. Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge, looking tired but determined. The neural interface with the Veltar network had changed her. She could still connect to their communications when needed, but the constant alien thoughts in her head made her seem distant sometimes. "How are our new allies doing?" Jake asked her. Lisa activated a holographic display showing several alien ships flying alongside human vessels. Better than expected. The Zephyrians were the first to break away from the Veltar hegemony when their Unity Mind collapsed. They're eager to learn what they call individual thought. The Keth are more cautious, but they're cooperating. Commander Kate Murphy approached them with a tablet full of intelligence reports. "The hegemony is falling apart faster than we hoped. Without the Unity Mind to coordinate them, each species is making its own decisions. Some want to keep fighting, but others are asking for peace talks." "And the Veltar themselves?" Jake asked. "That's the interesting part," Lisa replied. "Many of them are completely lost without their hive mind. They don't know how to function as individuals, but some are adapting. They're learning to think for themselves, and they're terrified and amazed by it." A new voice interrupted their conversation. "Sir, incoming transmission from General Rick Thompson on Mars." Jake activated the communication screen. General Thompson's weathered face appeared with the red Martian landscape visible behind him. "Jake, good to see you alive," Thompson said with a grin. "Mars Command is ready to contribute our full strength to the liberation effort. We have 60 ships ready for combat and 10,000 trained soldiers." "What's the status of your technology?" "Development?" Lisa asked. "That's the best part," Thompson replied. "Our isolation forced us to innovate faster than anyone thought possible. We've improved on captured Veltar technology and created some new weapons they've never seen before. Commander Chen will demonstrate when she arrives with the Europa fleet." "Over," The next several hours, Jake watched as human ships gathered from across the solar system. The hidden colonies had built an impressive fleet, using 15 years of captured alien technology, combined with human creativity and desperation. Amy Walsh had been promoted to Chief Technical Officer of the combined human fleet. She worked frantically to coordinate the different technologies developed by various colonies. "Jake, you need to see this," she called from her workstation. The Europa team created something incredible. On her screen, she showed him blueprints for a new type of ship. They call it an innovation-class vessel. It can rebuild itself during battle, adapting to whatever weapons the enemy uses. It learns and evolves in real time. Sam Rodriguez looked at the designs with amazement. "How is that possible?" 15 years of studying captured Veltar technology, Amy explained. But instead of copying it exactly, we improved it using human, problem-solving methods. The aliens build things to work perfectly in known situations. We build things to adapt to unknown problems. The fleet moved toward the outer solar system, where intelligence reports indicated a large Veltar force was regrouping. But as they traveled, Jake received surprising news from Dr. Carter. "Jake, I'm detecting communications between different alien species. They're not coordinating attacks. They're arguing with each other." Kate Murphy brought up the translation on her screen. "The Mordak want to continue the war. The Zephyrians are demanding immediate peace talks. The Veltar are split into at least 3 different factions with different opinions." "This is what we hoped would happen," Lisa said. "Without the unity mind, they can't agree on anything. Each species and even groups within species are making independent decisions." Jake studied the tactical display showing alien ship movements. They're not acting like one enemy anymore. They're acting like dozens of different groups with different goals. The human fleet reached the edge of the solar system and found something unexpected. Instead of one coordinated alien fleet, they discovered multiple smaller groups of ships, many of them facing off against each other rather than preparing to attack Earth. "Admiral Nelson to all ships," came the voice of the fleet commander. "We're receiving surrender requests from 3 different alien factions. They want to negotiate separately." Jake made a decision that would have been impossible during the desperate early years of the war. "Tell them we'll accept their surrenders, but they have to meet with representatives from all the other species too. No separate deals. Everyone talks together or no one gets peace." Dr. Ben Parker, who had been studying alien psychology throughout the war, nodded approvingly. "That's brilliant, Jake. You're forcing them to practice the kind of individual negotiation and compromise that humans use naturally." Over the following days, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. Representatives from dozens of alien species gathered on neutral space stations to negotiate not as a unified hive mind, but as individuals with different opinions and interests. Lisa Carter served as the chief translator and mediator. Her unique connection to the former Unity mind helped her understand each species' perspective, while her human experience taught her how to help them find compromise. "The Veltar faction led by War Commander Vexthol still wants to fight," she reported to Jake after the first day of negotiations. "But the group led by Science Director Nal Quinn is interested in learning human innovation methods. The Zephyrians want to establish trade relationships. The Keth are asking for help defending their homeworld from raiders." Jake realized that humanity had achieved something more important than military victory. They had introduced the concept of individual choice to species that had never experienced it before. "Sam," he said to his old friend, "send a message to all human colonies. Tell them to prepare for the largest diplomatic mission in history. We're about to teach half the galaxy how to think for themselves." As Jake looked out at the alien ships surrounding their negotiation station, he understood that the war was ending not with humanity's domination, but with the birth of a new kind of galactic civilization, one where species could disagree, compete, and still coexist. The age of fear was ending. The age of choice had begun. 2 years later, Jake Morrison walked through the halls of Unity Station, the first interspecies research facility ever built. Through the large windows, he could see ships from dozens of different worlds docked at the station. Humans worked alongside Veltar, Zephyrians, Keth, and species that had been mortal enemies just a few years ago. The station orbited Earth, which was healing faster than anyone had thought possible. The yellow skies were turning blue again. Cities were being rebuilt with technology shared freely between species. The planet that had once been a battleground was now the center of a new galactic community. "Jake," called a familiar voice. He turned to see Sam Rodriguez approaching with a young Feltar who walked nervously beside him. "Jake, I'd like you to meet student researcher Kental," Sam said. "She's part of the first group of Veltar to study human decision-making methods." The alien's gray skin had a slight blue tint that Jake had learned indicated curiosity in her species. She spoke in careful, accented English. "Commander Morrison, it is an honor. I have studied your resistance tactics extensively. The concept of independent choice under pressure fascinates my people." Jake smiled. "Please, just call me Jake. We're all students here." It still amazed him how much the galaxy had changed. The Veltar who had once seemed like unstoppable killing machines were now eager learners, trying to understand the individual creativity that had defeated their hive mind. Dr. Lisa Carter approached them, carrying a tablet full of research data. She looked healthier than she had in years. The constant alien thoughts in her head had faded as the Unity mind became just a memory. "Jake, the morning briefing is starting," she said. "President Davis wants an update on the integration programs." They walked together to the main conference room, where representatives from dozens of species gathered every day to solve problems that would have caused wars in the old galaxy. President Nicole Davis, who had been elected to lead the United Human colonies, stood at the head of the table. Around her sat beings that looked like nothing from Earth's imagination, but who had become trusted partners in building a better future. "Good morning, everyone," President Davis began. "Let's start with the progress reports." Dr. Helen Cross, who led the joint research initiatives, activated a holographic display. "The technology sharing program continues to exceed expectations. The Zephyrian energy systems combined with human adaptability concepts have produced power sources 20% more efficient than either species could create alone." Ambassador Carl Stone, humanity's chief diplomat, added his report. "We've successfully mediated the territorial dispute between the Mordak and the Sylvan. Both species have agreed to joint colonization of the disputed worlds with shared resources and decision-making." Jake listened to report after report of cooperation and progress. Species that had warred for millions of years were now working together to solve common problems. It seemed impossible, but it was happening every day. "There is one concern," spoke War Commander Vexthul, one of the few Veltar leaders who had initially opposed the peace. "The darkness dwellers from the Galactic Rim have been attacking trade routes. They refuse all diplomatic contact." Dr. Carter leaned forward. "The darkness dwellers are the last purely hive mind species in known space. They see our new alliance as a threat to their way of life." President Davis nodded thoughtfully. "Recommendations?" Jake spoke up. "We don't fight them unless they attack us directly. Instead, we show them what we've accomplished here. Let them see that individual choice doesn't mean chaos or weakness." "And if they continue attacking?" asked Kental, the young Veltar student. Amy Walsh, now head of the Defense Research Division, smiled. "Then we show them what humans do to bullies. But first we try to help them understand that they don't have to be afraid of us." After the meeting, Jake walked to his favorite spot on the station, a quiet observation lounge where he could look out at Earth. The planet was beautiful again, with blue oceans and white clouds. Ships from across the galaxy came and went peacefully. Lisa joined him at the window. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "Miss what?" "The war, the simplicity of it, us against them, clear enemies and clear goals." Jake thought about her question. "Sometimes. But then I remember what we were fighting for, not just to survive, but to live without fear, to choose our own future. And now? Now we're helping others make the same choice." Sam Rodriguez found them there an hour later. "Jake, there's something you need to see." He led them to the communication center where Amy Walsh was monitoring deep space transmissions. Her face showed excitement and concern. "We're receiving a signal from beyond the galactic edge," Amy reported. "It's not from the darkness dwellers, it's something else, something new." The transmission crackled through the speakers. The voice was clearly artificial, but it carried emotions that seemed almost human. "This is the synthetic collective of the Andromeda Galaxy. We have observed the changes in your galaxy with great interest. For eons we have existed as pure logic, without the chaos of biological thought. But we have seen what your species calls creativity and choice. We wish to learn." Jake exchanged glances with his friends. First, the Veltar had feared human unpredictability. Then they had learned to embrace it. Now, beings from another galaxy entirely wanted to understand what made humans special. "Amy, send a response," Jake said. "Tell them they're welcome to send ambassadors. Tell them we'll teach them everything we know about making choices." "Including the mistakes?" Lisa asked with a slight smile. "Especially the mistakes. That's how you learn to do better." As the message was transmitted across the void between galaxies, Jake realized that humanity's story was far from over. They had ended Earth's age of living in fear, but now they had a new purpose. They would help others throughout the universe discover the strength that came from thinking for themselves. The station bustled with activity around them. Humans and aliens worked together on projects that would have been impossible just years ago. Children from different species played together in the station's schools, learning to see differences as strengths rather than threats. President Davis joined them at the observation window. "The Council has made a decision about our response to the Andromeda message," she said. "We're going to send an expedition, a mix of humans and our allied species. We'll carry the message of individual choice to an entire new galaxy." "Who's going to lead it?" Sam asked. The president smiled. "We were hoping you'd consider it, Jake. All of you. The team that ended the age of fear in this galaxy could help start the age of choice in another." Jake looked out at Earth one more time, then at his friends who had fought beside him through the darkest years of human history. They had proven that the species called humanity didn't just survive adversity. They thrived on it. They grew stronger from it. And most importantly, they used that strength to lift others up instead of tearing them down. "When do we leave?" Jake asked. The stars waited for them, full of new species to meet, new friends to make, and new choices to discover. The Mars galaxy would never live in fear again, because humanity had taught it a better way. The age of choice had only just begun.